Did anybody else at some point, like after their initial reaction, have like a sense of disappointment that like this is how it was found out? Not this like investigative journalist has been going like deep undercover. He's been trying to get close to people so he can get in and like see what's going on. Maybe blow up a news story. It was just a oh whoops, I clicked on the wrong dude. Like oopsie daisy.
Dive! Code red and 4 compartment middle level.
Torpedoes in the water!
No, I never have thought I was smart. I thought the people I dealt with were dumb, including you.
Here we go. Episode 30-something of the Too Fast podcast. Got a banger. We're talking about signal chats and operational security. Not that would ever come up, because nothing about
the lack thereof
security would ever come up in a signal chat. Obviously. All right. Obviously, we're not breaking any news, but operational offensive war plans against the Houthis in Yemen were accidentally sent to the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic because he was mistakenly added to a signal chat, which was assembled by Michael Waltz, the national security advisor to the president. I'll just open it up. What do you guys think about this situation?
Here's the thing.
Here's the deal.
We only know about this because of like a mistake, right?
Oh yeah.
Of mistakenly putting somebody in a chat where they didn't belong. So how much, basically what that tells me is that everybody's doing this, and they're doing it all the time and for everything, and they just this one time fucked it up.
Yeah, that seems to be obviously the case from the very first. It's not like, hey, surprise, we're using Signal now. It's like, I made a new group so we can talk about this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all been here. We all know how to use the app, right?
And no one is like, oh, we're talking about this on Signal. Everyone's just like, yep, this is par for the course.
But the thing that they always say is that it's not just because you're not getting caught doesn't mean it's okay.
Obviously.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because I feel like that's one of the biggest arguments is they're doing is like, oh, well, he didn't have to say that he got the chat, and only because he did it, that's why it's an OPSEC leak. Like, no, it's an OPSEC leak because you're using fucking Signal.
Yeah, it's an OPSEC leak because operational security was compromised in real life. It's not an OPSEC leak because the public knows about it.
Right.
One thing that stands out to me politically, right, is because you do have one administration in charge versus one not. This kind of a situation is going to become politically charged, even if actually it's more of a national defense concern at the end of the day. And so I think like we should be focusing on it from that angle. And instead, a lot of people are looking at it as like, oh, this party fucked up or this party did. No, actually, sorry, the military and the Secretary of Defense, who happens to be a civilian of a political party, fucked up, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But because of that, if you listen to the news, they will not even acknowledge that the messaging really was on Signal.
True.
They want to talk about the content, strangely, right? And the fact that someone was mistakenly allowed in the chat, and they don't at all want to address exactly what you're talking about, which is that using this platform in any way has already violated OPSEC.
Oh, yeah, big time.
You do not have any misconceptions. Just because it is fully encrypted in some civilian format does not mean that you have not taken top secret information and put it onto an unclassified network.
Yeah, that's something I told Amber when I was like breaking down the significance of this. I kept saying confidential because they kept saying confidential. And I was like, no, actually.
Weird how they keep downplaying that. Technically not the wrong term, but.
Right. Yeah, I was like, it's top secret plus. It's like need to know only. So not only is it wrong for using Signal, but like using your personal cell phone is enough for this to be a problem.
And that's really difficult for these people who are in positions where their own brain contains real-time top secret knowledge.
Yeah. True.
Being able to communicate through and only through appropriate channels when you're literally like, if you just write something, it is now top secret.
Right.
That's not easy.
Sure.
But that's their fucking job.
Exactly. That's the whole thing.
This is why we need to swear in people who are qualified and not just our friends and our loyalists.
Yeah, of course.
Let's pick somebody who's actually
That's
qualified
another
to do the
thing
job.
to jump onto that same point is like it's possible that most of the people in this chat didn't know it was a problem until this all happened. That's
Didn't
possible.
know that talking in the chat was a problem, or didn't know that the contents of the chat was a problem.
Potentially both, but I was talking about the first thing.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to specify. So here's what I would say, right? If I own or know or control classified information, and I shout that at the nearest person on the street corner, it's not their ears' fault.
That's right.
I'm the fucker who was entrusted with that information.
Yes.
So if I create an improper means of communication and use it to disseminate information, that's fully on me.
Yeah, of course.
And I think you're right. Like, whether or not every participant knew that it was wrong, many of them definitely knew the correct protocols.
Potentially, but like,
was there a lot of people in this that just do not have any clearance whatsoever, have never gone to any training for it?
I just don't believe that's what I was getting to. Is like, obviously, we know how classified material is to be handled on all different levels of classification. But like, we were trained by our chain of command about that stuff. Most of these people are in the same chain of command. They're talking to their leaders who maybe are the ones that would have trained them on how to handle fucking top secret information, but instead they just add them to the signal chat.
Yeah. I mean, if they weren't or did not know how to handle that, why would they be a part of it? And two, I just straight don't believe that. Like, the majority of these people were either
I was gonna say, even the
security
journalists
advisors.
Even the journalist knew how bad it was.
Yeah.
He didn't have any special training.
Immediately.
Yeah.
High-ranking secretaries.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard's obviously knows that this is not okay from just being in the government.
Supposedly,
she's a
in her
veteran
testimony,
too, right?
She doesn't know what CUI is.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, there's a lot of things that she said that,
Straight not true.
That then she also the next day said, "Oh, actually, I did know that."
I don't love dragging us into politics, but I do think that, unfortunately, just due to some of the people in questions past, they are kind of just intrinsically bound to it, right? And they are civilians, so they are political appointees.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly ironic to me how big of a deal things were made about potentially top secret information being stored on an email server that, as far as we knew, had not been breached.
The president, Hillary Clinton, if there was anyone other than Hillary Clinton, they would be in jail right now. This is a real deal, full-blown national security scandal.
She was less than truthful about it repeatedly. And it goes to the issue of both competence and credibility. It is irresponsible for an elected official in her capacity to be discussing highly sensitive things on a format that she had to have known was not fully secured.
I think it's why many of us felt that there should have been a prosecution started with respect to Hillary Clinton regarding classified emails.
When you have the Clinton emails, when you have the fact that the sitting national security advisor, right now, Jake Sullivan, was sending and laundering classified documents into an unclassified server, on top of the fact that the sitting president of the United States admitted he had documents in his garage that you're going in and out of.
Versus this, which is, once again, and this is not like, oops, I didn't know I wasn't allowed to have those emails there. This is like, I made a new channel exclusively for communicating this information, which I know is classified. I don't understand. I don't understand how you get away with this and not be fucking fired. Because if someone had just finished boot camp, they would be fired for it.
I mean, the first thing you're talking about became a national, not just a national news story, but a national chant.
That someone who may or may not be in office used routinely through both campaigns.
That dipshit from the Air National Guard just got sentenced to 15 years in like October of last year. And that's before he even goes to court. He hasn't even been court-martialed yet. That was just in a federal court for violating a federal crime.
Yeah, and they'll double dip for sure.
But if they're civilians, that's what they would fall under, even though this is like
sure,
SecDef, whatever, right?
The actual way to look at this situation is this is motivation to go officer, bring this back circle of like joining the military. If you become enlisted and you do this shit, you go to prison.
Yeah.
For a minimum of 15 years.
Oh yeah,
you get to go vibe in Leavenworth.
But if you go officer and you kind of get up the ranks a little bit,
yeah,
smooth sailing, big dog.
Listen, if I text it to you, then I'm declassifying it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You just revolving door your way into a better, higher up civilian role where you now make the classifications and go, he knew I declassed.
Yeah.
I mean, like you want me to say it at the start of every comm? Come on.
Like the next time somebody ever asks, like, should I go enlisted or officer? He's like, well, which do you think sounds cooler? 15
How
years
often
in
do you
federal
play War
prison.
Thunder?
Yeah.
Prison or no prison.
How likely are you to leak secrets?
Yeah.
There's a Reddit user named Swo6, and he's on the Navy subreddit pretty frequently. And pretty much in the immediate aftermath of this story breaking, he wrote a really good post, and it was titled, "To all the people I took to mast, re-rated, or separated for mishandling classified information, I'm sorry." He says, "I didn't know that it was okay to share sensitive information over commercial unclassified applications. I should have had more faith in the end-to-end encryption software that there's no way an outside party could view it unless you accidentally add them. To the OS I busted down and stripped of a security clearance for sending an email to his buddies on Gmail saying, make sure you're watching CNN at 3:30, which just so happened to be the TOT of our Tomahawk strike. Please forgive me. I wasn't aware that this type of information doesn't count as classified. To the sailors who brought their iPhones into the skiff and took pictures of secret binders to, quote, study for a test, and whom I stripped of clearance and re-rated, my apologies. Your phones are obviously impenetrable fortresses that are perfectly safe for storing and transmitting classified data. Fort Knox with retina scanners or something. To the lieutenant whose career I destroyed for trying and failing to cover up a major crypto breach that occurred due to your almost criminal incompetence, my bad. This probably didn't compromise some of our sensitive systems. To the 3 people I administratively separated for taking classified information home, what an overreaction. I mean, it's home. Home is where you're safe. To the person who will remain nameless currently sitting in the brig for divulging top secret information that jeopardized the life of key intelligence sources, boy, am I sorry I helped put you away. These sources know what they're getting themselves into. They should, at a minimum, expect that senior officials will repeatedly share their names and locations over unclassified networks. I can't believe I spent over 30 years needlessly harassing and henpecking innocent people just trying to do their jobs for those and other security violations. Man, do I have egg on my face. And he goes on a little bit, but like, that's the sentiment is like, this shit is a big fucking deal every other time.
From the bottom up, from the very, like, you just graduated boot camp up.
Yeah. I'll quickly go through the people that were in the chat. There was Tulsi Gabbard, who's the director of national intelligence. Pete Hegseth, who we've talked about plenty, is the defense secretary. Joe Kent is the nominee to run the National Counterterrorism Center. Stephen Miller is the deputy chief of staff for policy. John Ratcliffe's the CIA director. Marco Rubio is the secretary of state. J.D. Vance is the vice president. Michael Waltz, national security advisor. Susie Wiles, White House chief of staff. And then it seems to be that they were attempting to add Jamison Greer to the chat. This is speculative. No one's will ever probably confirm this. But Jamison Greer is the United States trade rep and has the same initials as the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg.
If anybody has never used Signal and they're wondering why that matters, if you don't have a profile picture for your avatar or whatever for your account, it'll just show your first and last initial in the little circle that is your
badge,
where your photo would be.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for somebody and you're looking for the initials JG, you might think, oh, that's the person that I meant to add. But that would be a mistake unless you only knew one person with JG. I mean, I don't know how common that.
So does that mean that Michael Waltz would have had Jeffrey Goldberg as like a friend on Signal? Or had their number?
Contacts in some extended contact.
Gotcha. So unless he's only ever communicated and or saved the contact information for one JG.
Did anybody else at some point, like after their initial reaction, have like a sense of disappointment that like this is how it was found out? Not this like investigative journalist has been going like deep undercover. He's been trying to get close to people so he can get in and like see what's going on, maybe blow up a news story. It was just oh, whoops, I clicked on the wrong dude. Like, oopsie daisy.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the messages that aren't classified, which is kind of their, at least at the beginning, was their talking point was like, we didn't actually release any classified information. And the Atlantic's editor, or the Atlantic as a whole, was trying to maintain some level of professional courtesy, I guess. Where like, look, you did, and we have the messages,
and we didn't disseminate them out of your welcome,
right?
And
even in the first round of congressional hearings, they were the ranking member was like, "We're gonna get the messages. Why would you not just tell us the full truth right now? Like, we're gonna get them," which they did.
Because they're just really used to being able to lie straight to your face and have it work.
True. It is gonna work, by the way.
Oh, it will.
I forget who. I think SecDef was like, we are at 100% OPSEC.
Yeah, we're clean on OPSEC. We are currently clean on OPSEC. But they talked about in the fucking Signal chat, if this gets leaked.
Yeah. So it's like they know what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah. How could it get leaked? It's supposed to be you're supposed to be in a skiff talking about it.
Yeah.
I think, all blame aside, that this highlights a need for exactly what they are using for those people. I think that the technology that we use for our government lags so far behind at times that they needed an encrypted, real-time, easy to add my contacts, easy to remove them from the chat. They needed that. They needed Signal/Telegram for themselves, and it doesn't exist for red networks, right?
You could argue that all of the people in this group maybe didn't have to be, but like they were essentially all over at least the country. Some of them were out of the country. So it's not like they could have easily actually done this correctly, but that's not the point.
That's not the point. I think that it is an important point, which is going to get missed and not addressed. And I think that that's tragic because out of everything, we could have at least had a good after action and actually build the thing that we need to have, or partner with, I don't know, any of our government suppliers to have them rapidly build the thing we don't have. Almost like there's a major government supplier that has a similar application and they're really good at preventing people from being cross-shard and they have TS clearances. But I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying like maybe we could be less dumb.
But the frustrating thing about it is if the people who did this, would have been like, this was a mistake. We obviously added the wrong person. This is why we're using Signal. And basically said what Michael just said. We don't have a way to communicate efficiently, encrypted, blah, blah, blah. They still wouldn't have lost their jobs because of the current political landscape. They still would have been fine. And then they
should have been fired, but they wouldn't be.
Exactly.
Because they still violated it, but they would still be fine.
Yes. But then we could have had, instead of it being, fake news and it wasn't confidential and, I actually just misremembered, it could have been like, let's build the shit. And they probably would have said, let's have Elon build the shit, which whatever, but at least somebody would have built the shit.
Yeah.
But it has to be, it's just a news story.
And this is something that administration is trying to highlight with government efficiency and all this stuff, right? And the most obvious case of them being handed a guilt-free fuck up and an opportunity to highlight the thing that they keep harping about, they just fumbled it.
Yeah. Here's your inefficiency right here. It's built right into the system. Just talk about
you
that.
You need to be a writer for you need to be somebody's aide. You need to be the man behind the scenes with the headset. Like, hey, no, this is how we need to drive the conversation.
They didn't recognize the opportunity they had because, again, they're severely unqualified for the jobs that they're in.
Yeah.
They don't even know what to be talking about. They don't know what to ask for. They don't know what to say.
True. Very true.
That's what they say. I don't believe it.
Yeah, Joe, you're right that they could just be talking like that. But I think they are dumb and unqualified for the job that they are actually assigned. That isn't the job that they're actually trying to do, is the where the wires get crossed.
Yeah. But that leaves a gap unfulfilled.
Yeah, of course. But the mission of the billet they're filling is not their personal mission. They're after other shit.
Yeah.
And so of course they don't know what to ask for because they don't really give a shit.
I wonder what you guys' opinion was on this. Do you think that we're having more OPSEC incidents Like, do you think that there's the rate of OPSEC incidents is growing among like high level leadership, or do you think we're just now hearing more about it? Because to me, it seems like we've been hearing a lot about it. It started with Hillary's emails, and then it was Donald Trump having classified shit in Mar-a-Lago's bathroom. And then they're like, oh, well, wait, Biden has stuff in his garage too that he really shouldn't have. And now there's this one. So that's like 4 in the last.
Even Trump's documents at Mar-a-Lago is way better than this. Because you can't, unless someone's like live streaming his documents from Mar-a-Lago to the enemy. This is literally just saying, like, here's when the planes are going out, and it could be intercepted by anybody. It's not on a piece of paper that's in the wrong place. Like, that is obviously a problem, but it's not nearly as bad as this.
I'm of the opinion that it's not a new concept. Oh, I got shit at home or whatever. That's just like, I don't know, the human flaw. Whatever you're involved with, you want it, right?
Do you think people are just getting caught more now?
Yeah.
I think it's easier to get caught now.
Maybe, but like, when did anything close to this happen before this administration? Even when Trump was in office last time, like, this is next level negligence.
The Clinton emails are a pretty close parallel, recent-ish. Like 10 years ago, because this admin was one skip 1-1. So this was only from the previous time that they ran for office. So that's a decent parallel. And I would say that it's pretty tame in comparison to this, especially in the contents and the intent. But the other thing I was going to say is if you wanted to look at political scandals of import, I mean, like, Watergate's a good one, and it is hilariously tame by comparison to here are the current like, these are the orders, we're about to hit go on the button.
They haven't even like admitted this time around that they did anything wrong.
Right, but they just by the fact that the chat existed, they had already done everything wrong.
They admitted they should not have added the journalist.
Yeah, but that's not the bad part. That's not the part that needs admitting to.
Yeah, that's what Michael's saying, that they are like copping up to the wrong thing. It's not, they don't, either they don't realize.
That's why this is different. That's why this whole administration is different. They're not going to.
But there's
And
also
the higher up, the people higher up are also doing terrible things, and that there's no accountability, no responsibility.
That's why,
like, the point isn't that you guys were chatting about something more important than the weather. The point is that I don't care that you were chatting about the weather. You hung up your own little string with fucking cans on the end, and that's wrong, and you knew about it. I don't give a shit what you were talking about. Like, at the point that you set up a specific channel outside of proper channels to share information you knew to be classified, you knew yourself to be wrong.
Yeah, and that will not
ever actually be reprimanded.
People are in jail for that currently,
right now,
and they didn't say anything to the extent of F-18s launch, more F-18s launch at this time, strike drones on target at this time.
Can you imagine?
Right.
No, they were like, hey, this valve, it's good.
Right.
It's a damn good valve, son.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it took.
Right.
They weren't like, yeah, no, we dropping this many at this much with this weight of bombs. Like, come on, fuck you.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, lock her up.
Lock her up. Of course.
That's how we treat people who disseminate information improperly.
Michael, do you know enough about air ops to talk about what could have gone wrong?
I can tell you that we would not fly, like, we would not take off.
Yeah.
If the mission and the flight path and anything about it had been compromised because of the safety of the pilots.
Of course.
I can tell you we would not do it. We would just scramble it. Nope, it's over.
Yeah, the whole point of this, like, the whole mission was catch the Houthis off guard, bomb the shit out of them when they weren't expecting it, and send a message to Iran, basically. But if the Houthis shoot down your fucking airplanes, then what?
I think that clearly it's not that it's not technologically secure. It's that the handling of the information at the human level is extremely insecure. And that's the problem. And that's what could have leaked it. And that's why people are in jail right now. So,
but fist. Flame,
how many people do y'all know that got busted when you were in the pipeline for mishandling NOFORN?
NOFORN, yeah, several.
A lot.
Yeah.
NOFORN.
And it never, I bet it never, truly never left their, like, bed.
Yeah. Or
it didn't go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't actually leak.
So NOFORN is, I think, the lowest level of classification that anything can have in the U.S., which is just it can't be accessed or given to foreign nationals. It's
Yeah, it's short for no foreign national.
It's below things like confidential, which is probably the next level up, which is below secret, which is below top secret, which is below. There's like levels above that. Need to know, color codes, all kinds of shit.
I'd call CUI lower than classified.
Yeah.
Lower than confidential.
Lower than confidential is what I said.
Yeah, that's true.
CUI, no
That's
foreign
actually what I
are
said.
not classified. They're just
Right.
designations.
Yep.
Yeah.
Classified is confidential, secret, top secret, all that bullshit above it.
Yeah, the things that the textbooks that we were given in the
Designation?
nuke pipeline were stamped. They were printed with NOFORN. That shit is on the internet. Like
Yes.
literally, the textbooks are on the internet. So it's it's not like
it's just science.
But still, people got at least captain's masted and kicked out of
in
the
our
Navy.
history, you know of distinct moments in time you can point to historical fact that is not your opinion that shows that people were punished for mishandling information that was at that trivial level,
right?
Because the problem is mishandling it procedurally.
Exactly.
Because that is what leads to information leaking. And I think it's just so disappointing that people at this level, it's not surprising, but it's extremely disappointing that people at this level have such disregard for it, and that we could actually make their lives easier if we fix the problem with the right way for them to talk.
Yeah.
That we actually control. And keep in mind, like CIA, NSA, like the Secretary of Defense, like these are people who can make that shit happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Who
And
can
actually,
say, we need this and make it happen.
I just remembered part of the signal chain that made me immediately revoke my benefit of the doubt I gave them earlier, because they talk about low side and high side in the fucking signal chat. It's like they know what they're doing.
That's what these are smart people. They know their job.
Yeah.
They know their job. They just don't give a shit.
It also feels like a blatant disregard for the service members who they now just put at risk.
Yeah, if I was that pilot, I'd be pissed.
100%.
If I was the CO over the pilot, I'd be pissed because he put my guy. It does really.
And like, dude, what happens then?
Makes me very upset.
Then we like go to war with the Houthis in Yemen. It's just it could escalate so fast. If we lose that interaction,
that whole area is so touchy.
Yeah,
Put
it is.
Nicely, right? So that's another thing to keep in mind is like if information leaks, there are consequences, even if all the pilots live. There are political fallout consequences. I don't know. It blows my mind that we have such a double standard for people based upon where they're at in position.
Can you explain high side and low side?
Yeah, so high side and low side are terms that are pretty common for Navy, military, and it's the distinguishing way you can discuss two different computer systems, two different computer networks. So when we say low side, we're talking about all of our unclassified computer systems, all of our unclassified networks. They all have stickers on them. You can only access certain information on them. They are completely separated physically, electronically, internetedly, right? From the other one, which is high side, or red side, like Michael said earlier, which all have their own stickers on it. And that would be like your confidential, secret, that kind of thing. There's different sort of like controls that go into each one. So like, depending on where your computer systems are, you might have to remove the hard drive at the end of the day and lock it into a safe. You may have to have double lock protection on the doors. You may have to have something like that. There's way more that goes into protecting high side computer systems than there are low side.
And of course, Michael Waltz understands that and mentions that he emailed them separately on their low side and high side. So check each one.
Check your high side.
He knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, and he's saying that because sometimes you probably spend more of your time on one or the other depending on what your job is.
For
so
sure.
if
Yeah.
I've had different roles where I spent each way. So for cases like that, that's why he says make sure to check check your low side or check your high side because those people may not log into the other one every single day to check.
Yeah, I mean,
messages,
it's not
but
like Marco Rubio is on a ship's LAN all day, every day. Like, he's probably gonna have to be notified to check his fucking high side email. And that could be said of pretty much everybody in this chat, to be frank.
I just remember that you guys know all about like the whole Fat Leonard Navy shit, right?
Yeah, wasn't he selling shit?
Yeah, it was like high-ranking Navy officials, captains and above, were giving like pull-in dates to this. I want to say it was like a dude in the Philippines or something.
Glenn Marine Defense.
At this time, have some services ready to go, and you give me a little bit of the kickback, and I'll keep like giving you the information, right? Like,
jeez,
it's a give and take relationship. Fill in the blank what those services are.
Yeah.
Preferential contracts as well.
Yeah,
because he was over supplier companies for contracts, so it was like a two-way thing.
Gotcha.
Like, I'm going to directly benefit, you're going to benefit. Why don't we make this work?
Yeah,
and all those high-ranking Navy officers got off scot-free, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
It's just
he
based
did
on
too.
position.
He's like I think he was like brought to San Diego. He was extradited to San Diego, and now I think he was like under house arrest or some shit, and then he like smuggled his way out of the country, or I forget.
But still actually face consequences is my point.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I would have been more surprised if they had done something to the guilty people parties.
Oh, I'd be stunned.
To the
There's no way.
That would be, to me, more surprising than what actually happened, which was that nothing happened to them.
Correct.
If you look at the positions held, it's a clean sweep. You couldn't actually seriously punish all of them without just being like, new cabinet round 3. Like, it would be ridiculous.
Yeah, I do think
that's into the administration.
Yeah,
I think the glimmer of hope that would happen is that the president would just be personally hurt that he wasn't in the group chat and just fire everybody out of spite.
Well, they said in there that they couldn't get a hold of him.
I can imagine a situation,
but it wasn't like we couldn't add him to this chat. It was like we're trying to tell him in person what we're talking about.
I mean, the end result is the same. Like, if you take that at face value, he isn't even a part of this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Know if that's maybe necessary, but like, I feel like it should be. Like, I feel like.
Well, I mean, these people, this shit is their job.
Yeah.
It's just obviously they did it the wrong way. But I was saying that if there was ever a world where anyone in this group would actually lose their job, it would be because Donald Trump was personally offended that he was not in this group chat.
That's the likely scenario. I can imagine what I would want to happen is that the president of the United States looks at this as a massive betrayal and compromise of security from all of his top officers, makes an example of one, pardons them, and lets everyone else go in a timely rollout so that we can actually bring new people in and it's like a good handover. But if I were the president, I would clean sweep the whole fucking lot of them and say, I can't believe you would literally mishandle everything this badly.
Yeah.
Of course you're fired.
Right. Another little piece that probably no one has thought about in this situation is like, there could be dissenting voices that matter from the Navy side, like the CNO, but those people don't fucking exist right now. I mean, they will be Trump appointees at some point and they won't dissent anyway. But if they hadn't fired the CNO for being a girl, she probably would be like, yeah, this is unacceptable. Honestly, the undersecretary of the Navy is the only one currently in position that might actually know that this is not good enough to speak about it. But
another thing that, like, I guess as outraged as I am, if every other person in this group chat only communicated this information in this means, you may feel significant pressure due to the timeliness of that role to participate, right? Like, they may be telling you something you need to know right now, and you can tell them this is the wrong way to do it after. But that's not what happened.
Yeah.
So, like, I can, that's another path where I can be like, you know what? I hate it. And you're wrong. But that's one of those, like, I chose to listen, not to say. and then I would bring it up, kind of things. Like there's ways around even that scenario. I just don't see how they could all openly participate on a routine basis and think it's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's been going on for a long time. I think that's
sure.
why there wasn't really anything after the whole email server
Dude, I don't
thing.
know, man. I feel like
Because
if this was happening under the Biden administration, that would have been the first thing they said, is that this is how the last administration did it too.
I think everybody's been doing it
But why wouldn't they say that?
the entire time?
Why wouldn't they say, if this is so wrong, where was it when, we relieved such and such and they told us we do everything through Signal chats?
This is the daily ops management that they went with. Even if it were,
yes, that's
they
true.
always have the opportunity to do things the right way, almost like they all know how classified information is handled.
And that's probably SecDef. I don't know who would decide we're going to do everything through Signal. I would assume SecDef, but he didn't start the group, so maybe not.
Yeah, no.
Well, I just want to clarify. I wasn't saying that everybody's been using Signal this entire time. I'm just saying there's been a problem with using improper means of communicating OPSEC type stuff for a long time.
That's what I was trying to say.
Sure.
And I feel like they'd never really wanted to push anything so hard because, like, let's say they did try to actually convict Hillary. Then they'd be like, okay, well, you guys are doing it too. We just didn't say anything.
Yeah, they were. Lots of people were doing it too.
Yeah. But the same thing goes now. Like, the Democrats aren't going to push this because the Democrats are doing it too. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, maybe. But wait, well, who?
Well,
There aren't
even
any.
if they could do anything, they can't.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what I'm saying is, like, no one's going to be, like, dying on this hill because everybody's doing it.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of Congress people that are dying on this hill or trying to, that don't think that it's just like okay that it happened because they also do it. I don't see a lot of that. I mean, granted, not every elected official is talking on these hearings, but every dissenting committee member seems pretty floored that this is a thing.
I would argue that Secretary Hegseth, if he had the dignity that he needs to have, should be walking his resignation in, because I believe that his probably is heading toward being relieved of his duty based on what I think are significant and illegal leaks, most likely.
To your knowledge, do you know whether Pete Hegseth had been drinking before he leaked classified information?
People in the most dangerous and sensitive jobs on the planet put extremely specific pre-decisional discussions about a military attack on Signal, which could be intercepted by the Russians and the Chinese. Everyone here knows that the Russians or the Chinese could have gotten all of that information, and they could have passed it on to the Houthis, who easily could have repositioned weapons and altered their plans to knock down planes or sink ships. I think that it's by the awesome grace of God that we are not mourning dead pilots right now.
Now, go with me here. Maybe the technology already exists and is in place for these people, because that's so high up.
That's
I wouldn't know about it.
They could have something that we don't even know about.
I believe.
Then why didn't they use
I find
it?
it hard to believe that it's
Yeah,
2025
that's what I'm saying.
and there isn't some top secret bullshit for people at the very, very top.
They
Like
don't have a
the
red
president's
phone?
got that special little red phone to call up whoever the fuck, right? Like,
Yeah, but the president
this
also has an
idea has
iPhone.
existed for decades. It's just
for
now we have
sure.
to put it on smartphones.
We need to make it easier to do things the right way. Like, we have right now a completely hard disconnect between devices, most devices, which are unclassified and classified, or the entire device is simply classified, which means now you have to treat everything on it that way. And there is a gap in the realities of the modern demands on people in these positions, where they have to constantly send and receive massive amounts of real-time information that matters right now. And we do not make that easy to do.
The division of devices goes like all the way up to and including fucking printers.
Yes.
Like, you better not
Yeah.
print the wrong thing out the wrong printer.
Yeah, if you take a piece of paper marked classified, confidential, and you put it on a green unclassified
Yeah.
scanner and hit scan and make a copy, you
Buckle up.
fucked.
Buckle up. Yeah.
You better hope nobody saw you do that
Quote me,
shit.
Chief.
And
Yeah.
it's just the copy machine.
Right.
It's
Dude,
just
we
a
have
copy
separate
machine.
shredders. You
True.
aren't even allowed to destroy them together.
My favorite shred moment is when we were getting full new RPM. Like, that was the rev, was like replace the whole RPM. And so we took those gigantic fold-out drawings from the back and taped them all together. And the shred machine was the full forward end of the engine room. And we had it going on one end, and we taped all these giant fold-out drawings together all the way back to like well into Shaft Alley, and just let this big train of a paper go through the shredder. Yeah. By the end, it was like, please oil me.
Yeah, please. You gotta fucking get some joy where you can.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else on this?
I don't think so. I think the facts are pretty clear, and nothing's gonna happen. So
yep.
Call your senators.
Just remember, go officer, don't go enlisted.
Let them pee themselves and cower in fear after I call them, just like they did before.
Hopefully there are lessons learned, even though they will never ever say that they learned any lessons out loud, except like, oh, we shouldn't add reporters.
Yeah.
I think the important thing is that they actually don't do that, continue to do this. But I mean, what's going to stop them?
I don't know. I mean, regardless of what's happening public side, I feel they've got to be pissed. They're like, good job, dipshit. Like, look at what the shit you got us into.
Yeah, that's probably true. I hope that's true.
To be clear, they only care about the bad optics, not about the leak.
That's what I mean. Like, hey, we had a good thing going, and you ruined it because you can't fucking read properly.
Can't even fucking use.
You're making my job hard, bro.
Yeah,
Thanks,
the corrective action
dumbass.
might not even be. It might not be don't use Signal. It might be like delete all the reporter contacts from your phone and then use Signal.
Screenshot your contact list and send it to me on Signal so I can verify that there's no reporters in it anymore.
That's right.
There's a process to make Signal the official thing.
Yeah,
They
that's
could
it.
Just do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll spin this sumbitch back up in 2 weeks, and we'll talk about the next crazy thing that's happening then.
There'll be plenty. See
I'm
you
sure
then.
there will be.
Like and subscribe.